Hello. Can everyone hear me and see me? I hope so. I have to keep the opening quite similar to the other guys. I've got to do some sort of hall of mirrors and cluster. So if you can see and hear me, then let me know in the chat. And we shall crack on. I'm hoping that means you can see me. Lovely. What a game week, hey guys. I don't know about you lot, but Viduka captain and absolutely nothing for anyone else in my team, which I think will probably be a pretty common theme. Actually, I tell a lie, I got a McAllister assist, which I was chuffed with. But apart from that, pretty much nothing. I haven't had a chance to tally up my scores yet, but wow. So we're obviously going to be doing these streams directly from Wednesday from now on to bring you up to date. It just so happens this week it's going to be a week until the next game because obviously these guys are transferring everything from the sheets over to the new website. So on that note, I think they've asked me to mention that from Saturday they're hoping that process will be available. So if everything goes correctly, it should be Saturday morning sometime that we should have the ability to copy it over from our sheets directly over to the website, and then the team will obviously populate if you're already playing in the game yourself. I think you'll have unlimited transfers. If you haven't played the game up till now, you'll have to actually pick your team at the very start like usual, but these guys will continue to pump this information out and explain it all as we go on. I can see people saying I've benched Lescott. What were you doing? Jolien Jump Jet. We'll get onto him. Right, yeah, please interact as much as you can in the chat, guys. I will try to pick it out where I can. And I'm not going to mess with the winning formula these guys have been doing for now. So it's kind of like match of the day first, where we review the games and then we go straight into almost the press conferences, I guess, for the upcoming week. But by all means, if you think I need to do things differently, I'm conscious it's quite late. So if you think it would be better to switch it around in the future, then let me know. Anyway, let's crack on then. So, to the games. We've got Arsenal versus Man United. Probably the most stunning thing of the game week. Fabian Barthez with a man of the match performance. Did not see that coming. Overall, it looks like Arsenal were probably slightly on top. They certainly had more shots and one more on target. But Man United, big game, champions. Is it the beginning of their charge? Could be. How did they set up? So Arsenal set up in their normal attacking short way, and actually Arsenal caused Manchester United to set up counter-attack and normal. It's one of the few teams that Man United will do that against. I'm good, Auto Recluse, how are you? Don't think I've ever seen Veron play left wing before, so that was a surprise to me. However, it doesn't appear that it lasted particularly long. Scholes obviously subbed on 28, Solskjaer on. Solskjaer, they stayed to 4-4-2. Solskjaer does play left wing quite a lot, so Veron will have gone here, Solskjaer will have gone here. In terms of the actual stats, I'm going to make some notes just quickly. Let me see what I've put down. Yes, just that Van Nistelrooy was largely, well, he still managed to get an 8 and a goal, but as you see here, Tony Adams, very, very dominant. Tackles, headers, played an 8. Obviously played on the right hand side here. And he played mainly against Andy Cole. But Campbell also played pretty well. So as you can see here, Van Nistelrooy not winning as many headers as he usually does, and sometimes he struggles away for this in these sort of games, but he's still there and he still managed to get it. And Ollie Solskjaer with the Fergie time winner. Well, not quite Fergie time, but not far off. Rate this format, match of the day kind of style. I can't make the game bigger because this game is old and it runs on 600, 800. You can only do it by patching it and doing other things, and it's not my game to do it to. So sadly, it has to be pretty small. Maybe I can look at that another time. Yeah, you can't change the format of it without using special patches like Tapani patch and stuff. I'm sorry. You can see it though, right? Damn. I wonder if these guys change the resolution then. It's because my monitor's quite big. Let's try changing my... Is that better, guys? Let me know if that's better. Is that better? I'm going to crack on and I'll see whether you guys put it in the chat and I can try and mess around with that. Looks fine. Okay, let's crack on then, guys. Perfect. Unfortunately, it's now not letting me click the game. This is a problem. The game's so buggy. When you mess with resolutions, it causes issues. See, it won't let me click the game unless I have this resolution, guys. That's annoying. Let me try bringing it down a bit. No. It's not letting me click it, guys. I'm sorry. I have to keep it on that. I'll have to sort that for next time. Okay, let's crack on, guys. Sorry about that, but I should have tested it beforehand. Okay, hopefully you can see it reasonably well. On to Blackburn versus Liverpool then. Obviously an absolute goal fest, as you can see here. Blackburn probably could have won by more. 10 shots on target, 5 for Liverpool. They obviously, when they play at home, generally play with this attacking style. Yeah, I can play with a mod, Andy, from Future to change it. I was just conscious of changing anything. But we'll try that for next time. And Liverpool played short passing and pressing, as they often do away. To only get an 8 for Tugay when he gets 2 goals, that's surprising. So I don't think he actually played that well. And when I actually look through the match report real quick, I don't know if you guys can see this again because it's quite small. But although Dudek, they mentioned on the tweets, played quite well at times, if you look at the goals he actually scored here, it says for the first one, Dudek saved but could not hold on to it. Tugay attempted to hit it in low, so he's basically spilled it for this first goal. And then we move down to the second goal, and it says here, the linesman has his flag up, Jansen is straight into an offside position. It then says Dudek passes down the wing, and then Tugay just scores. So it looks like pretty much direct from this free kick. Dudek has kicked the ball pretty much direct to either Tugay, or I think actually this goal was assisted, but someone who just put Tugay straight through. Tugay was running through unmarked. So not the best opening sort of 10-15 minutes for Dudek there at all. And also I think I noticed is, I mean, Tugay dominated with passing here, but there's also lots and lots of shots for Blackburn, absolutely loads all over their team, as we saw before. And I think that's a result of Liverpool playing, I mean, these 4 here, Barmby, Smeetser, Redknapp, Murphy, they're not the kind of guys you want to harass the ball in centre midfield. That's not really their game. They haven't really got a defensive midfielder there at all, and I think that kind of hurt them in the end. So perhaps they should have played at least one DM in Steven Gerrard, but for whatever reason, they didn't do it. Let's move on to Charlton and Fulham. Now we all know Fulham are an incredibly erratic side in this. They do like to go for goals. I expected this game to be extremely high scoring, but when I looked at the match stats, there wasn't that much action, which surprised me quite a bit. Charlton are just having an incredible sim, aren't they? And Dean Kiley, I mean, it's not even a question at the moment, is it? He's basically the best keeper in the game, like hands down. He's conceded 34 goals in 20 games. Goalkeeper's average rating is pretty much never above a 7 in this game for anyone. So you don't need to worry about that. In the save points he's getting and the clean sheets, it's just incredible. I don't think it's up for debate at the moment, really. Absolutely mad. McAllister got my assist. He dominated the ball here. You see Charlton go for their attacking style like usual. Attacking short hard at home, especially against Fulham. And Fulham, because they don't care, also attacking direct hard. Auto recluse. No, Veron usually has, well, whoever's on the left will have a left arrow or no arrow, but for that reason they played him on the left and then he moved into the centre anyway for Veron. But this is the reason why Fulham are a good team to target, because usually anything can happen. One thing I did notice here was that Klaus Jensen in the middle, and if you click Jensen you can see he's actually got jumping for 16. And in this game it doesn't do height very well, so although you might have in your mind that certain players were certain heights, this game doesn't do it. It's the later Football Managers that start bringing it in, and jumping is essentially someone's height. So Jensen's a pretty tall centre midfielder here, 16. And you can see here headers and 1, 14 headers, 10-1. That's a really high number for a centre midfielder. And if we look here, Jensen's playing on the right hand side of the four. We go across to Fulham, and we can see that he would have been up against Clark in centre midfield. And Clark has a jumping stat of 8, so he's basically half the size of Jensen. And when you look, he come off with a 6. Didn't win any headers at all, and then they brought on Malbronk in his place, and if he also plays there, Malbronk has got 6 for jumping. So it completely explains why Jensen had so many headers, and he's pretty unlucky not to get bonus in this game, I would say. But Charlton just keep on winning. Let's go to Chelsea Villa. So Chelsea Villa 2-1, obviously Rick's first game at home. Set up pretty much in the style we thought he would. And if we look at the stats here, Chelsea probably a little bit unlucky not to win this by more goals. They played with the 4-4-2. This is when I ran my sims on them. This is pretty much the team they'd pick most games. Usually Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank would be maybe in place of Zola. But for whatever reason they didn't fancy him this time. I would expect he does come back in though. Right, and by that logic, Peter Crouch would have 20 for jumping. Yeah, he certainly would. So yeah, it was a good game for Chelsea. Petit getting the man of the match in 8. I think Petit and Lampard will both be more of an option than they were before. But for me, the sort of standout. I forgot to mention Aston Villa played defensive and men behind ball pressing. We don't actually get the best version of Keegan. Sorry, is it Keegan or Dalglish? Dalglish, isn't it? We don't get the best version in ours. He actually has no preferred style of play. Sometimes he plays attacking, and that causes better games for Villa. However, he's still pretty good at home, as we've seen already. And when we look at Chelsea for sort of who played really well, you look at Desai here, absolute tank of a man. His stats are absolutely incredible. And here we got 15 headers, 15-1, 9 key headers. That's absolutely insane. He's playing on the right hand side of the centre backs, so he actually played against Balaban, but Balaban's not actually that bad for heading. I think his jumping's 16, sorry, so he's actually pretty good. He just got utterly dominated on the day, and you can see here 18 headers were attempted by Balaban and he won 1. Desai, an absolute tank in this game. Probably should have won man of the match and got a 9, but obviously wasn't to be. Let's move on. So who do we go to next? Derby and Sunderland. Derby winning 2-0. Lescott with the man of the match. New signing. He's been great. Looks like a steal. Looks like he's going to hopefully shore them up a little bit. I don't actually think he's completely nailed Lescott, so he might occasionally drop out, but he is he's going to be a good buy, I think, for them. You see his big jumping stat here, but it's actually a surprise. He didn't really get that many headers. He got a few. We'll have a look at that in a sec. Stats wise, it looks like Derby and Sunderland were fairly equal. I mean, Sunderland actually had 13 shots to Derby's 9. So perhaps a little bit unlucky. Derby set up in an attacking way with the split arrows, and it's good that Lescott's playing on the side in the centre backs. Usually the guy who plays in the centre plays on zonal marking and therefore doesn't get that high a rating. If you play on one of these sides, then you generally do better. So that was good for Lescott. Sunderland just went with normal. I think what really affected them here is Mr. Bart Williams playing at centre back. Now, he's not a totally awful player, but in that role by any means, but probably wasn't the best shout to stick Bart Williams at centre back, and they obviously corrected that pretty shortly afterwards by bringing Craddock on. In fact, if you look, both the goals were scored early. They subbed off Bart Williams, brought on Craddock, and then Derby failed to score after that. So probably should have started that way. The only other thing I really noticed here was that Valkyrie was again heavily involved. He's having a great season. Another assist for him. Lots and lots of passes. I think quite a few are jumping on him. I heard him on the Wolf Pod being mentioned. Think he's a pretty good option. Everton and Middlesbrough then. Yeah, this was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? This is the kind of game you'd expect the league leaders to win, especially if they want to try and win the league. And is this the beginning of the end, I guess you could say? I mean, to see Middlesbrough win the league would be incredible, but you kind of think these are the kind of matches they need to at least get draws or wins from. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't their day today. You actually look at the match stats, and you'd say 2 shots on target for Everton, and they scored them both. 3 shots for Middlesbrough, obviously didn't get anything. So they just happened to take their chances on the day, it looks like. Everton did this formation that they often do, always will be attacking at home, unless it's against one of the really, really big teams. And Middlesbrough actually went with attacking on this one as well. So I think that Middlesbrough's reputation will have increased slightly. I mean, they're top of the league, it will increase quite a bit, and they're probably a slightly higher rep than 12 now. I'd imagine they're about 13 and a half. So dropping Southgate was a bit of a surprise. I don't think he was injured at all, but they've already done that a couple of times now. Lots of rotation around this Christmas period, it appears. What else was I going to mention? Gordon coming off. This is just a general thing that the teams do. So Everton were obviously winning pretty early on. 6 minutes. It obviously wasn't going very well for Middlesbrough. And we've seen it quite a few times with Henry and other players. The AI decides it's not working, so they'll just hook pretty much anyone to try and change things around. And they actually brought in 2 centre midfielders, in Parnaby and Ocon. And they obviously bought off Greening, who was playing centre at the time, and Gordon, who was on the left wing. So what I think actually happened is Johnston probably went to left wing, Whelan probably went up front with Boxic, and Rickard came over to the right wing, allowing Ocon to go into the centre midfield. That's what makes sense. So I think Johnston got shifted over to the left wing, where he hasn't been as devastating, and Rickard then went to the right wing. But there's no way to know for sure. Thankfully, I've got Ekiog, so finally he gets some bonus. The guy's an absolute tank. I mean, here, look again, key headers, 1. Probably a little bit unlucky not to get man of the match. David Weir was also just as good, though, I think. 9 headers, 7-1, 2 key. Yes, Kalku Ekiog is still wanted. Let me just click him. Where have I lost the game? There it is. He's still wanted by Arsenal. Usually does leave to Celtic or someone like that. Sometimes Arsenal, sometimes Man United even. So it's one to look out for in the coming weeks, I would expect. On to Leicester and Tottenham. Absolute goal frenzy, as you'd come to expect with Tottenham. We look at the match stats here, and I really hope you guys can see it, but 15 shots on goal for Leicester, 13 on target. Mental. And Tottenham also had 12, didn't get quite as many on target. And the way they set up, obviously Leicester are very much gung-ho with their attacking. They can't really defend, which is what they did here. And we know that Tottenham also will throw out attacking away from home against low rep sides. So another one like Fulham Tottenham, where there's some of the entertainers in the game. Things to note here really were Akinbaye. I mean, the guy has his first start. You know, he's unsettled. He's trying to force his way into the first team. You know, he has one game and straight away he's on superb morale, and this is why I don't really think morale matters that much in this game. I mean, I think it can potentially have an effect if it's very low or low, but it's linked to their professionalism stat behind the background, and one good game and he's straight up to superb, like directly. And you know, good players will play well and their morale will change as a result. With him, I think the key thing to note here is he's just an absolute bully. He's got 19 for strength. He's got pace to burn. But it's the bravery stat of 16. Now, bravery, it actually says in the game manual that basically if you want to win with like lower league teams against better sides, then you want to focus on aggression and bravery and play hard tackling, and you'll basically bully them off the pitch. And that's a very high stat, bravery there for Akinbaye. When we look here, we got heavily involved, lots and lots of shots, four shots, 4 on target, lots of headers, 1. And when we click on the opposing number, obviously he was against, he's on the left hand side here, so he would have been on the right side against Tottenham. So he was originally against Richards, who went off injured in 6 minutes. And I think that had a massive effect because they've done King dirty on this. King's come in. And we look here at his stats, 6 for bravery for Ledley King, a long way off the 16 for Akinbaye. So as those King stats have actually started to increase nicely, they do increase quite a lot in this game. They've done him dirty in certain areas, and he obviously did not fancy the challenge whatsoever. I mean, 3 for technique and 5, not 5 for that, sorry, and 10 for passing. James will be well unhappy. They've done him dirty in this game. And Rebrov coming off. I'm not sure whether it's injury related. We will have a look in a little while. Newcastle and Ipswich, another goal frenzy. When you look at shots on target, quite a few more for Newcastle, but 9 to 10 overall on shots. Could have been a draw, I guess, but I suppose you have to credit Newcastle if they're going to get those extra ones. Yeah, 6 for bravery is scandalous, Billy. You're right. Does not fancy a challenge. So how did Newcastle set up? They set up attacking. Typical formation here. And Ipswich, they played this annoying formation away from home. Tarico actually ended up at the left back. And they played with no team instructions. If only they'd have played their other formation, they probably would have given Newcastle a really good go. What did I note in this game? Yeah, pretty much the only things I really noted, apart from obviously Bernard getting 3 key passes, those with 3 assists and a 10. I mean, the guy's not got that good crossing or anything in this game. He has got quite good determination. He's got good dribbling at 18, so he's able to get himself in the position to crosses. And I don't think he'll be hitting triple assists very often in his career, but there you go. I do think that Ipswich boys were probably, even in this formation, slightly unlucky not to get a bonus here, because yet again, Bramble, 9 tackles, 7-1-2 key. Haridason, 9 tackles, 4-1-2 key. And then Haridason with the headers again, 5 headers, 3-1-2 key. So they both ended up with 7s, but I think they must have been very much on the cusp of an 8. So in another game, they could have ended up with bonus again if we didn't have a few worldy 9s around. Alan Armstrong as well, coming in from nowhere and hitting the brace and a 9. It just shows you that you don't really need rhythm in this game. You can just come in and you can perform. And the big one that most of us, well, I say most of us, I don't want to say that because I've been on the wrong end of captains a lot. this season, but a lot of us had Viduka as captain, and he hits the 10, 3 goals and an assist. Did not expect that, to be honest. I was actually going to captain Rebrov this week before the injury, so I've got away with one. I might not even have had Viduka in my side. I was debating just not even getting him and getting him next week. So that injury has really helped me out there, to be honest. What was the story of this game week then? So interestingly, and we already saw from the keeper performances there, although there were 7 goals, there was actually only 11. Is it? Yeah, 11 shots on target. So there was only 4 saves made between 3 keepers because Paul Jones got subbed to Neil Moss. So it could have been actually a little bit more low scoring if the keepers didn't completely balls it up. The good thing about Southampton is, though, at home, as you can see here, playing attacking, it really works out to actually play Southampton when they're at home, because obviously they'll open up a little bit more and they just haven't got the players to defend. So it's the perfect matchup really on paper. I think Southampton have been pretty dreadful at home most of the time for goals conceded. Leeds are not the best side away from home at all, but it just gave them a great platform. They both went attacking, and devastation in the end, but mainly due to the keepers. The other thing I really noticed here is Beattie, as we can see here, is again we go to this jumping thing because it's the easiest thing to see from the stats. Beattie's not had great stats here. Sometimes they get a little bit better when he actually plays. He hasn't been playing many games, but he's got 20 for jumping, so he's essentially Peter Crouch. He's a beanpole. And if you see here, 16 headers, 11-1, 4 key. So he really, really dominated. And he's playing on the left-hand side. So we actually played up against Radaby here, who ended up getting a 6. And if you see here, Radaby 13 headers, only 4-1. So picking out these matchups I think really helps, guys. If you can notice that there's a matchup ahead like this where there's a really big imbalance and pick them out, you can do pretty well, I think. And talking of matchups, I mean Viduka, I'm not even going to click him. He's absolutely ridiculous. But look at the defenders that they're putting up against him. This was the guy on Viduka today. He's got 9 for positioning, which is one of the most important stats for a defender. Absolutely woeful. And on the match report here, I did notice, if I read some of these goals out from Viduka, it tells the story. So here's one of them. McPhail lifted the ball ahead of Viduka in the area. Viduka found himself in some space. Now, that's because the guy was badly positioned. Viduka looked certain to score, and he scored. We then go down to the next one. Batty found Viduka in the area. Viduka lost his man and found himself with plenty of room. Viduka fired in low and hard and scored. Yeah, it's not surprising when you've got Monk with 9 positioning. That's twice in a row within 2 minutes he's worked him out. And then we go to the third one here. Viduka got well above Benali to win the ball. Viduka powered a header at goal. Viduka scored. If we go to Benali, you'll see that his jumping stat for a centre-back is 10, which is incredibly low. Viduka's is 20, by the way. So the goals have pretty much come on the attribute wheels there for me. A complete mismatch combined with dreadful keepers. Mark Viduka's my hero from Pirlo's beard. Yeah, mine too. On to West Ham. Absolutely shocking from West Ham. Sorry, FPL Lions. We look at the match stats. They had 3 shots on target, 7. Bolton deserved to win this. 8 shots on target. There's not really too much to be said against West Ham. They set up attacking. And Bolton just set up in a normal way. The one thing I did note is they play short passing. Now, short passing is usually reserved for the top teams, like the best teams in the league. And if you try to do it with players that aren't good enough, it doesn't really work. And just clicking through a few of these guys in West Ham's team: Schemmel, dreadful; Minto, dreadful; Irikpin, dreadful. Lomas in centre midfield, passing 11, dreadful. I don't think I need to go on. Combined with probably the worst goalkeepers in the league, it's not a good mix. and doesn't seem to be working. The absence of Joe Cole is a surprise as well. I don't really know what they were up to there. Joe Cole is obviously one of their best players. He isn't nailed, especially at the start of the season, he's not nailed. But for whatever reason, over the Christmas period, they've decided to give him the day off. It's not a good idea, I don't feel. Can Viduka play against Monk every week, please, Scala? That would be ideal, wouldn't it? Last thing, just shout out to Bolton. I mean, to show you age doesn't matter. Look at Maddison, 32 years old here. We go on to Hendry, 36 years old. Look at those stats, beast. Cooper, 34 years old. Warhurst, 32. Rob Lee, 35. Franderson, 31. Rod Wallace, 32. Simon Charlton, 30. Even their substitutes, Bo Hansen, 29. Oh, Ricketts is young. But you get the idea. Golden oldies. Absolutely smashing it. Right. I think that's our match of the day out of the way, pretty much. And we can move on to the team news. I'll come back at the end. I think we'll go through the teams, team by team. Talk about the injuries. There's been a couple of key injuries. There's been a couple of signings as well. And then afterwards we'll kind of just do the home table, away table, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, new record set for Bolton, oldest team ever. That's right, Andrew. A lot of the teams have a lot of old players. It's just the way it works. The game likes old players because they've had time to build their potential ability and their reputation. So, you'll often see teams sign old players as well when they don't even need them. Waiting for the Dad's Army theme music. Right. I know it's late, guys. Let's go to Arsenal. We'll sort by condition. These guys have given me notes down here just in case I miss anything, but by all means shout out in the chat if you see something I don't, or you need me to click anyone or whatever. Robert Pires, I'm just going to click them on. I can't remember which ones are new, etc. But we've got Robert Pires out here. He's out for about a week with a gashed leg. Just quickly, actually, fixtures are all on the same day. So we've got all of these games that are played on the 29th of December. So we're on the 29th of December now. It's about to be played, basically. So Pires is out. Kanu is out for a few days with twisted ankle. So he's 90%. He could play. We've got Edu, who's out for a few days with knee ligaments. He doesn't usually feature for Arsenal though, but he could do, obviously. And the rest of the guys all look over 90% and pretty good to go. I don't notice anything else there, so I think we'll move on. Aston Villa, and don't click continue game. Yeah, no, that would be a massive balls up. Let's look at Aston Villa. We've got Hadji here. I think this is a new one, guys. So he's out for 3 months. And I don't think many people have got Hadji, but that is I would have said that's a big blow, because usually when the 4-4-2 manager comes in, Hadji gets the nod at right wing rather than Stone, and he can actually do okay on the right wing, get quite a lot of assists. However, they've been playing Stone there, so now it looks like Stone is pretty much cemented, and he's not bad in this game, as you see. He's got 20 stamina, 20 determination. So it looks like he should be fit most of the time. However, he's got 6 for pace for a right winger, which, yeah, a bit iffy there. Taylor's out for around a month with a pulled hamstring. We've got the Lord. I'm afraid to say, no longer the Lord, because he's still in Butlins, but he was injured during training and he's out for 2 weeks with a twisted knee. So we won't be seeing him anytime soon. I don't believe he was training. He must have injured it in the Rapids. Alpay out for about a week with a stubbed toe. 65%. Under that 70 mark. Very unlikely he will play. And no one cares about these guys, do they? I don't notice anything else here. Everyone else seems pretty much good to go. On to Blackburn. We've got Mark Hughes, the legend, out for 2 weeks with a chest injury. Few too many cigars. Look at all those 20s. Go back a few years, he could have been decent. No one cares about Davey, and it looks like McAteer is on 87%, so still could feature. He's not injured or anything, but he's a little bit tired, so there's a chance he could miss out. Apart from that, everyone is good to go. I'm conscious my chat has stopped talking, so either no one's watching or my YouTube's gone down. I hope it's not the latter. Someone say something in chat just to make sure I'm not talking to myself. Hello, hello, can anyone hear me? Test, test. Am I still here? Beautiful. Okay, so there's a big delay on it, that's why. On to Bolton, we've got Ricardo Gardner, the man, the myth, the legend. 2 weeks with a broken leg, still to go, but 90%, they could throw him in there. It would seem unwise, but we know what the AI is like. Really hope that we get him back as an option. No one cares about Mr. Richardson, I should suspect. He's dreadful. And the rest of the guys all look good to go. Franderson 91. Everyone else is good. Is this guy actually still with them? Yeah, he's still with them, but he's suspended. So 1 match ban for a red card for the Japanese guy, who's actually got not bad stats. I'm mesmerising. Okay, I'll take that as a good thing. Engrossed by Villa, Blackburn and Bolton shitness. Yeah, what a time to be alive. Bolton did have a fantastic team at one stage though, didn't they? With JJ and all the boys. On to Charlton, and some bad news for Robinson. He is out for 2 weeks with a gashed leg. Obviously got injured during the game. He's not a completely nailed starter, but he can feature on both wings and come in and out. So if anything, it makes the other guys a little bit more nailed. Robson's also injured, but he won't be playing. And we've got Gary McAllister, 89%. He actually played the full 90. And he's got stamina here of 12, as you see. So he often loses a lot of condition during the game. Usually pretty nailed for Charlton, though, so he may still play on that condition. Or they might give him a rest. The option is there. Maddison is banned now, Andrew Martin's saying, so I must have missed that. Let me go back. 1 match ban starting on the 9th of January. Thank you for that. Everyone else looks good. On to Chelsea. Chelsea, pretty big news, probably greets you straight away. I don't think anyone's got him yet, but unfortunately, the man, the myth, the legend who wins everything in the air is out for 2 weeks with a groin strain, and he was injured during training. So the timing looks fairly decent for him. I think they have 5 home matches in 7 or something, and obviously got an assist this week, and then a pretty tasty home tie against Everton was lined up. So yeah, that's a big blow, I'd say, for Chelsea. Everton, Newcastle, West Ham was a pretty nice run. You know, Arsenal at home's not too bad either. Southampton at home, bit gutting. Dalabona's still out for 2 months with a groin. Di Matteo is still 2 months away from coming back from his broken leg. Yeah, Scala saying their only nail player. Yeah. And Zola is at 91%. Jimmy, by the way, I noticed unhappy here. He's waiting to see how the club's new manager changes things. He's thinking of moving clubs. Before he was unhappy about a contract, I believe. Obviously their league position's terrible, which usually causes unhappiness for the players. But they've signed a new manager. He's saying he's waiting to see how that's going on, but at the same time he's thinking of moving clubs. Morale is very low, strings of 5s and 6s. It's not looking too good for Jimmy. On to Derby. What have we got from Derby? So Ravanelli out for 10 days still with his knee ligaments. I think we were robbed of him. Christie obviously got the goal today, but I think he was a pretty good pick for these next 2 games. But obviously we've got Christie anyway. Aranio is out for around a month, injured during training. I'm not sure if that's new or not, but I'm just going to cover all of them here. He usually plays in the wing-back role on the right, so that's a bit annoying for them. And we don't care about Dino. So Kinclard's at 82%. Probably, you know, he's a rotation player anyway, so he's at risk of playing even if Ravanelli's fit. Ravanelli's out, sorry. There's a chance that Kinclardsy might miss out, I guess. And Lescott down to 93, so still good. Christie at 90, but none of them are injured. Just trying to work out who they might play at right wing back instead of Aranio if they go for that. Sometimes they just switch Seth Johnson over to the other side, so that might be something they do. And bring in anyone on the left. I can't see this guy playing, but you never know. It is Champman. Why is Kinclardsy unhappy? He's regularly pissed off, but I shall click it for you. Wants a new contract. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised about Riggott as well, Brad, actually. Riggott's usually a pretty good player. Not getting the games. I'm not sure why, because he can actually develop quite a lot. Okay, so on to Everton anyway. Ferguson, 3 months with a broken foot. Gemmell, 10 days, strained knee ligaments. And Gaza is still with the pigs in blankets. We've got a little bit of tiredness in Everton squads though. Xavier's on 82%. Max Moore's 82%. How the hell this guy played with those stats in centre midfield, I don't know. But he did, and he's low. So a few players out there low condition ahead of the away game at Chelsea. Looks prime for a battering that, even though Chelsea are looking pretty, or Jimmy in particular looking ropey, but it looks like it's still a good matchup for Chelsea even without Desai. And even like I said before, even if Jimmy comes back in and starts that game, which I expect he would, people's morale can change very quickly. Scala's saying Riggott's got a lot of random stats, so he can differ a lot. That explains it then. He probably obviously didn't do very well on this one. On to Fulham, and this is pretty big news, I think. The sea of red here. Wadado, 10 days with a gashed leg. He's actually injured in Fulham's 3-1 defeat against Lee's reserve. So I think I'm right in saying, because he just played that last game, that they stuck him in a reserve game for a laugh, and he got injured. So when you combine that with Mr. Goma, who is still suspended for 2 games, they pretty much have no centre-backs now. I would imagine it will be Melville and Zach Knight that will play there. Now these guys haven't got the best stats either. Positioning 8 for Knight there, you may notice. He's good in the air, jumping, heading. But he's not the best positionally. So we might have another Monk situation on our hands here. Also, to add insult to injury, this guy won't play. He's a left wing back, but he actually did play, to cover Harley, who was injured. So this guy is out for a month, damaged kneecap, also in a reserve. We then go to this guy Lewis, left side. He could play there, but he's also injured for 2 months. And we've got Harley out for 10 days. So they have no left wing back, and even their cover is injured as well, which is a bit of a concern. Steve Davis out for 1 day. He could play in DM. He's only 72% though, so it would be a surprise. Keeper doesn't play. And we've got Coleman. 2 months with a broken leg before he comes back. Malbronk is unhappy. He's lost confidence in his manager's ability. Steve Malbronk often gets moody. It happens a lot for various reasons, and usually by the end of the season he gets sold, if not before. So Fulham are all over the place, to be honest. Clark wants a new contract. He wants first team football. Betsy. They could play Finn. Is Finnan fit? So Finnan could play at left wing back. I guess that's probably what will happen. They'll probably play, like I said, Zach Knight and Melville as centre halves. It's a patchwork team. Yeah, Leeds away next. Wait for the Leeds news though. You don't know the Leeds news yet. It's going to shake things up. And Louis. Poor Louis. Ipswich. This guy doesn't play, but 31 years old. He's injured. 3 weeks out with a sprained ankle. Fairly big news actually. Marcus Stewart. He's only out for about a week more. Did he come on? I think he may have come on as sub this week. I can't remember. Maybe put me right. But he can be an okay player, so that'll be good to get him back. Peralta's also out for a few days, 90%. Another one with the orange that could play. Whether they last the full 90 without re-injury, then that's another question, isn't it? And these guys are all pretty good to go. I don't know what secret sauce you guys have put on Hariderson, but it's just incredible. 8 average rating, 5.1 tackles, man of the matches. I don't see it stopping, to be honest with you. And I don't even have him. It's been killing me. Let's move on. This is the big one, guys. You know what happens when I bring a player in, right? I mean, I brought Viduka in, and he got me a hat-trick, but Viduka is now injured at 82% orange flag. He's out for a few days with a gashed arm. Absolutely devastating news for Viduka there. His gashed arm is keeping me out of the game, potentially. Can you believe it? A big hard man like Viduka. A gashed arm, really? The thing is, he's in that zone now of orange flag, above 70%, so he could play. We've all seen it before. He could do. They've got quite a lot of competition in Smith and Bridges that could play. Now we've got potentially Viduka ahead of one of the best matchups in Fulham anyway, with half of their team out, and now there's a chance that Viduka might not play, but then if he does play, he could always come off injured, or he's just low condition anyway, so he could get subbed because he gets low. So that's going to be a real decision for people what they do with this guy. He probably goes from being one of the standout captains to, do you even play him or not? It's a big decision. Bowyer's still out for 2 months. Yeah, and Robbie Keane, 1 yellow away from a suspension. So, I mean, I just want to shout out to Robbie Keane actually here, because I noticed when I clicked him, Robbie Keane is one of the guys in this game who has it's a -2 potential ability. And the guys who are fans of Champ Manager will know that -2 means that he has a potential ability randomed somewhere between 160 and 200. 200 is the best you can get in this game. So, that's Ronaldo, Messi, or in this game, Van Nistelrooy and Henry are around 190, I think. So basically what I'm saying is Robbie Keane could have landed on 190, 200. He could have landed on 160, and it would differ quite a lot in the game. But going by how well his stats have improved here, pace and off the ball and acceleration, agility, these stats here are really, really important for strikers. Flair's really useful for him. He struggles with the jump in and the heading, so he's terrible in the air, but he doesn't always play directly up front. He plays with that arrow that goes up. And obviously his finishing and everything is more than fine, but off the ball is like probably the most important stat for a striker, along with pace. So I think we've hit on a really good Robbie Keane here, and he's not really shown it so far, so I think he's a good shout. It's really annoying he's got that yellow, because obviously I would say Viduka straight to Keane is a great option for this week, but if he gets that yellow, that's just another problem. Veron is 198, Pete. There you go. Yeah, I think Veron's the highest in the whole of the Premier League, if I remember rightly. I think Owen, Veron, Van Nistelrooy, Henry are all up there. Who else then? So everyone else looks good to go in condition for these guys. Hart's fine. We'll get to Shearer soon. Right, on to Leicester. They've got Leith out for a month. They've got Lewis out for 3 months. And they've got Edie out for 5 months. Dennis Wise, who played even injured, still 90% orange, still out for 10 days with a fractured arm. I mean, this guy's playing with a fractured arm. Still 10 days away. Viduka's got a gash with 3. It doesn't correlate. I'm just pointing out how Dennis Wise is 1 foot tall, but we know Wise rock solid, right? He must have just said, "Throw me on." The rest of the guys, Sinclair 89% and Akinbaye is on 92%. I did notice, by the way, I found this quite funny. Akinbaye, we just know he played a 10 in the last game, right? And you think, maybe he's going to get the nod now. But he's already got a 6 on the end, so that means he's already played a reserve game since the game that he played. So will he play this week? I mean, he still could do, but they threw him straight back into the reserves after that. I'm just going to check. Scowcroft was totally good to go. It looks like he just victim of rotation. Liverpool, and it's looking good for Liverpool for once. This is pretty much the best they've looked all season, I think. Honsho is still 2-match ban for his red card. Nearly all their players are close to 90 or 100%. Danny Murphy's on 86, but Gerrard a few days away, 90%. We've got Litmanen a few days away, 90%. Both of those could play. And we've got Owen still out for a month with a broken ankle. Again, he could still play because he's 90% on orange. But looking pretty healthy for Liverpool, surprisingly. Just want to touch on Smeetser actually, by the way. Played, got a 9, man of the match. He's been out for most of the season. He's usually, like, none of Liverpool's players are nailed by any means, but he's usually their best midfield asset for attacking returns. So maybe he could be a cheeky option. I think he's 6.5 million. So those looking for a punt could be. Definitely not nailed, but could do well. On to Man United. And they're struggling. Bex, 2 weeks with a twisted ankle. I mean, 2 weeks at this point. How many games is that? Where are we? 29th. So he's going to miss Charlton, Derby. I don't want to say miss actually, because these guys, he could go orange obviously within a week and then play, but his actual return date is after the Liverpool game here. So that's, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4 Premier League games potentially. Could come back before that and play orange obviously, somewhere halfway between that. But that's not looking good for Bex. I think there's a decision to be made on him. 10 million feels a lot to sort of keep. Giggs out for 10 days with a damaged shoulder, injured in training. I think that was already the case, as he didn't play this week. And Silvestra's still got 3 weeks to go with a twisted ankle. No, thankfully Van Nistelrooy, the tank, the machine, 95%. He's ready to go. 18 for stamina. I think he's got 20 for natural fitness or something as well in the background. This guy's always ready to go. They only rotate him just to keep squad happy, really, basically. Everyone else looks good. Barthez wants a new contract. He thinks his performance this week has deserved that. He failed to mention any of the other performances before that. And Dwight York, 15 games, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 man of the matches, 7.20 playing up front for Man United. Oh dear. Cole's done so well when he's played most of the time as well, but doesn't pick on performance. I wouldn't be surprised if York comes straight back in very soon. Solskjaer at 89%. He's tired, bless him. Chadwick 92 and Bad 93. Who will be playing in United mid? That is a very good question. Let me just have a little look actually. It's really annoying they put the reserves in this. I really want them to get rid of it. You can do it when you play, but obviously when you don't. I mean, you got Fortune, you can play left wing, so he would be a potential. They didn't fancy him in the last one. They stuck Veron there for some reason. This guy from the reserves actually gets pretty good in the game. His stats are okay as well. He could be a surprise inclusion at left side. And on the right side, obviously Solskjaer can play left as well, but he's a little bit low condition. On the right side, Nicky Butt can actually play right wing, does quite a few times, so he could be a surprise inclusion there. But to be honest, I'd probably tip Phil Neville because he's midfielder right and got reasonably high rep. So I think he might come in and play right midfield, bombing on. In fact, the real Fergie played Neville in midfield and John O'Shea in midfield and the like, so you never know. Maybe you can throw one of those out. So yeah, it'd probably be my guess, but nothing more than a guess. I don't think anyone's going to be bringing those guys in. Middlesbrough then. Ian Pearce played ahead of Southgate. He's on 87%. Oh, Chadwick. I forgot Chadwick as well. Chadwick could play as well, obviously. Well done for pointing out. Covers both sides. Pearce at 87%. I expect Southgate, who is totally fine at 100%, should come straight back in though. And we've got the ever-tired Alan Boksic, 89% this week. Morale very low if you are into that sort of thing. He enjoys the team style of play, and that's usually a good sign for scoring goals. I say he really does actually suit. Boksic can play any style, but playing short passing actually helps him in most of my sims. But again, 89% for Boksic. It's one of those ones where he could potentially not play the next one. He could play and then come off early due to his condition going down low. He's only got 13 for stamina, so he usually tires, especially when they play pressing, which causes condition to drop fast. In fact, if we look at him in the game, he went down to 71% during the game. Just want to touch on Ekiog before his inevitable move. Look at this guy, 89878, absolute tank, stats incredible. He's in my team and I don't feel like I've been rewarded enough. He even got missed out on a man of the match because of the bug. Fuming. Let's move on. And there's actually been a couple of signings for this next team. The headline news though is Shearer is 76% with an orange flag. So we've been here before with Shearer. He's in this, I was going to say Goldilocks zone, but the opposite of the Goldilocks zone. He's at the point horizon of a black hole. It's in that zone where the AI may play him because he's fantastic and they need him. But of course he run the gauntlet of coming off injured. And he's very low condition anyway, so not that that's linked with injury, I just mean that if he wasn't to get re-injured they could just sub him because he's low condition, if that makes sense. But he's home to Southampton. I think there's a chance he starts, but you never know. I really want them not to play him this week, and then next week he's probably good to go, but who knows. Where are the signings? Okay, so they've actually signed this keeper, Jimmy Walker. He's been signed from Walsall. He was on loan at Norwich for 550k. 13 for handling is the same as David James, just FYI. I don't think they're adding him to the game unless he plays. I think that's right. Then maybe they can correct me. Shea Given's still here, obviously. The thing is, I'm very wary when the AI signs goalkeepers and new players because their reputation seems to get a jump, and therefore they've got a chance to play. But whether he will or not, I'm not sure. But you just always have to be wary that they can throw that randomness out occasionally. So he's one of the signings. The other guy is this guy, Steve Chettle, 33 years old. He's actually a coach as well, and they've brought him in to solve their defensive woes. So Mr. Chettle's in. I don't think he's been priced up either. I think they'll price him if he plays. You'd expect he's behind Dabizas and Marcelino, and even O'Brien, but you never know. Came in for Barnsley for 300k. They don't have any money. When its finance is okay, it basically means they've got absolutely sod all for cash. So they're doing the best they can, bless them. Let's do the other guys. We've got Dyer here. Dyer's also got an orange flag, and he's out for about a week with a twisted ankle. I think he played in the last match, didn't he? So I'm not sure if that's new or if he played injured before. Oh, Newcastle are having a laugh with them transfers or close. They've got no money, man. They're doing the best they can. And this is what I was saying before, actually, about the AI signing old players. This guy will have a reasonable reputation, and obviously his stats have increased a little bit. So rather than signing an up-and-comer, they just go for a cheap and easy option. Not the best idea. Bellamy wants a new contract. I don't see anything. Dabizas wants a new contract. Yeah, Adam's saying Viduka can still play. Yeah, he could still play. It's going to be a decision. Southampton, we got Dodd, 2 weeks, damaged Achilles tendon. We've got Taha, out for a few more days, 90%. He could play. Svensson, a few more days, 90% also. He could come back in. And we got Tessum, who is unhappy, wants a new contract only, is on 88%. So also could play, but a little bit tired. And I think the rest is good to go here. You'd expect Klaus will continue at centre half, and seeing as how rubbish Monk was, I mean, they don't do it on performance, but he hasn't played. He's only played 3 games all season, so they might bring. Oh, Benali's actually leaving. Oh, it's not until the end of the season. Hi, Pillows Pen. Pete Carter saying they'll get a 12 million budget when Shearer goes to Celtic for Newcastle. Yeah, that does happen quite a lot. That'll be devastating because we've been pretty much robbed of Shearer all season, and then he might leave, so we never get to see his greatness. Yeah, the AI might rush Dodd or I can't remember who the other guy was now. Taha back maybe. Also, I did notice this, which I don't even know if the guys noticed, but Southampton have got a future transfer for this guy, Petr Kachoro, and it happens in 2 days' time on a Bosman. Now, he is actually a pretty good striker in this game. He's got 19 for finishing, he's got 19 for long shots, 18 for pace. He's got a lot of good attributes, acceleration, and I know from experience he's a good striker. I've had him before for numerous teams, scored quite a few goals here. Fun fact, he plays for Dynamo Minsk at the moment, where the cheap player Maxim Sigelko plays for as well. The problem is, I've noticed also, so I got excited when I saw this, but he's actually injured and he's out for about 3 months with damaged knee cartilage. So what I expect is actually going to happen here is that this deal will get cancelled. It doesn't always happen, it depends on the level of injury, but when you play the game and you try to sign someone who's injured, it will cancel it because they fail their medical. So there's a chance that this doesn't go ahead. Let's say that's just on experience, they might just ignore it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they noticed that. So they'll have to price him up if he does come. I think that's it on them. I don't think I missed anything. Sunderland, they're all pretty much good to go here. We've just got Williams, orange flag, 10 days. Everyone else is okay. Craddock's unhappy, he dislikes Sorensen. I think they mentioned before on one of the other streams that Sorensen caused a bit of an issue and he's just pissing everyone off. But Sullivan's come in and been doing pretty well. Arca's good. Tottenham. So, breathe a sigh of relief. Mr. Rebrov. He's 100%. Thinks Gus Poyet is an inspired leader. Certainly has been. He's at 100%. He's also on very low morale. Just FYI. Probably as a result of his early substitution in the last game. I wouldn't worry about that. One game he'll play and it will be back up high, and it's debatable whether it does anything anyway. But you know, it's not fact that it doesn't do anything. So if you buy into that, it's worth noticing. Why have I'm confused. Muppet. I ticked available only off. Didn't I? I did it back here. So let's go back very quickly. Robert obviously still out for a month. Solano out for a month, we knew that. And this guy out for 10 days. I was thinking, I couldn't see Casey Keller. I was like, where the hell's Casey Keller gone? But now you already know the news. Kevin Davies out for 10 days with a sprained ankle. He was injured during training. And Petrescu is banned 2 matches for his red card. Good job I noticed that before it was too late. So back to Sunderland then. We've also got Tome out for a few days with a bruised thigh, but he's still actually red flagged. So he won't play this one. Which means that Mr. Bart Williams might find himself at centre back again alongside McCartney. You never know. Rookie error, Scally, I know. I was thinking, why the hell has he gone? But we rectified it, don't worry. Big news for Spurs. Dean Richards, as we know, went off 3 months with a torn groin. 3 months. That is devastating because he's one of their best defenders. That pretty much gives Ledley, a 4 million defender, a 3 go at it now. Obviously won't be getting stuck in anywhere, but it looks like their defence is going to be hampered. We've got Mr. Gus Poyet out for 3 weeks with a damaged shoulder, injured during training. This is the most brutal week's training ever. These guys have actually gone at it. They've smashed it. It's over Christmas. You know, they haven't taken it easy. They committed to the cause. And he's gone. He's out. Casey Keller, 2 weeks, twisted knee, injured during training. Must have smashed directly into Gus Poyet. But that means Mr. Tota is likely to get a go. I mean, Spurs' defence was hardly solid anyway. We're now looking at goalkeeper combination of, goalkeeper of Tota and Ledley King at centre back. I think Chris Perry's still a good defender, but losing centre midfield Poyet, that could be bad news for Selakovic. You know, that frees another midfield slot that Selakovic could sit into. You know, it doesn't mean he will play there. They've still got Johnson. They've still got Davies. But it's bad news all round for Spurs, I think. Sherwood's back. He could also play there. Who are Spurs playing next? They are playing away to Blackburn. A team who don't mess around at home. Graham saying, so when Viduka recovers, there will be no Richards or Keller. That's a very good point. That's obviously, he could start the other one and then get injured and miss that as well, though. You have to bear that in mind. But yeah, that looks like a tasty matchup if Viduka is available, right? Teddy sharing him at 91% here. And you got Darren Anderson 92, Ziga 94. Everson wants a new contract. And on to West Ham. Kitson still out 2 weeks, groin strain. Canute injured during training. Again, a few days out with a sprained wrist, but he's at 90%. Defoe could come in, or of course Canute could start. And surprisingly, Joe Cole, 77%. Now, we've already seen that he didn't play the last game and he wasn't injured. So the AI, obviously West Ham, they can afford to do this. They can afford to stick their players into reserve games. I don't think he was injured. I mean, if he was injured, I obviously don't know about it. The guys would have to clarify. I think what more likely has happened that he's been stuck into a reserve game. Yes, Ian McAllister, that's what I would suspect. I mean, unless the guys who obviously have got the save could tell us he was injured and they missed it or something, but the most likely scenario is that they stuck him in reserves because, they can afford to do that. So now he's 77, he's over the 70% threshold, he therefore could play, but it's looking unlikely. And I think McLeish has got no clue, bring back Rode, Ian says. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, McLeish, patient style of play in a 4-4-2, playing short passing. We already mentioned it. What was he thinking? Not the man to save him. So yeah, I really feel for the people who went for Joe Cole for 2 weeks. That's just incredible to me. I mean, he had 2 Plum fixtures, their best player. We've seen what he can do in Plum home fixtures before. He's obviously missed that first one and now looks at least a doubt, or even if he does play, potential early sub. Heartbreaking. Christmas carnage, Andy says. Okay, I think that just about rounds up the teams. We've gone through we've done the man of the match. We've done the match of the day. We've done the press conferences. I'm really sorry about the resolution, guys. That threw me a bit. I'm going to try and sort that out for next week. Is there anything else you guys want to see? I know usually they go through the tables. Just shout out anything in the chat you think I missed or you want to see. But I'll just do a little bit of this. So we got average rating defenders. Hariderson rocking an 8 for the season. Sylvester still incredibly high. I mean, these are the guys who are going to be getting you bonus nearly every time they take to the field. Ekiob, Bramble, and obviously Hart and Huncho, and my man Goma. Tome, Lundegavan, Festa, these are all guys. I mean, these guys here, I think I shouted out before. Terry and Desai, I think you'll see start rising up here quite a bit. We go to tackles, you can see that when we sorted by average rating and then we sort by tackles, there's not a big difference because tackles is often related to their rating, obviously along with headers. 7 man of the matches for Horizon. Mental. Dean Gordon leading the way for assists. Bernard's now in second place with Hegem after his hat-trick of them. Festa with his 3 pens leading the way there. And goals, yeah, Bramble, Festa, Gordon. Not many goals from defenders. Hart's only on 2 goals. How many will he end on? Let's go to midfielders. So midfielders goals, we got Johnston at the top with 8 still, Cole with 6. It's not, I mean, Veron with 6. You'd expect that to rise before the season ends. I mean, Berger's got 4. He's in 6th place. He's only played the last month, and he's got sent off twice, I think, or at least once. Midfielders really letting the side down. For assists, we got a Wise at the top. His corners are something else. Let's go to average rating. Bron, Giggs, Gronkia, Beckham. It's been a minefield here in midfield, really, hasn't it? Sorry, Ryan, about that. We will fix it for next time. Average rating for forwards. Everson in 4th place, despite not playing much. If he starts to get game time now, could be an option. Let's look at goals. And Viduka catching up to Van Nistelrooy. Henri, Phillips, Rebrov and Dublin on 8. 8, 10, 7, 7 the last few games. I still really like Dublin. I think he's I mean, he's always liable to rotate with Angel. Balaban's usually their main striker, really. He's got a higher reputation and rating than the other two, slightly. He's not completely nailed either, but it's basically going to be Balaban and one of the other two, and it looks like Dublin's far in front at the moment. There's always that chance he could miss one, but ahead of games of Leicester, Charlton, Leeds is not a great fixture, obviously, but they're not that. Actually, no, that's not a good fixture because they're away. Leeds have been very good defensively at home. Blackburn Derby after that. Reasonable punt, I think. Let me just do team stats quickly. Goals from corners, like I was saying, look, Leicester City 6. Wise takes their corners and he's leading the way for assists. It's why you sometimes get a lot of these outliers. It can come down a lot to set pieces sometimes. Wise generally is a pretty good pick overall, but obviously his assists will vary massively with how many corners will be converted. Indirect free kicks 4 for Middlesbrough. Direct free kicks, still not very many scored at all there. I should do yellow cards quickly for players. Robbie on 4, Boa Mortes on 3. Everyone else looks pretty okay. Sam Thomas, can we quickly look at Arsenal Man United's Champions League group standings? I think we can do that, yeah. Home form, Leeds, Middlesbrough, Charlton, Derby. Away form, Man United, Arsenal, Leeds, Spurs leading the way. Games lost in a row, Spurs now on 3. Games without winning, West Ham 6. Games without losing, Leeds now on a 5 run. And just for Andy, because I know he's still in the chat, we've got to do the Uriah or anything, right? We've got to keep it going. If I sort by yellows, I should see him, right? Well, actually, he doesn't play that many games, so let's sort by rating. Oh, Uriah Rene is actually the 5th highest rated ref, despite being harsh. He's only had 15 games and he's hit 40 yellows there. Never change. Division 1 table. There it is. Home away table. Leeds have only played 7 games at home and they've won all 7, conceding 1. I know they've mentioned this before, but I mean that bodes well. They're well behind in home games. I mean Leeds are on a fantastic run anyway, and they're in the form. So add all that together, the triple Leeds really looks ideal, doesn't it? Other teams have got quite a few ones. Derby only played at 8. Newcastle only 8. Ipswich have had lots of their home runs, as we know. Away, Man United is now topping that. I mean, these guys here, 12 points and 16 points for West Ham and Southampton. You got to say those two are probably down now, right? The other spot, now that Sheeran might come back, I guess is up for debate, but you'd expect Chelsea to rise up the ranks. So it looks like Fulham, Leicester, Newcastle, Derby, Everton, they're all in danger. Right. I think that's it, guys. Oh, sorry, someone did mention Champions League, didn't they? Let's do that very quickly. So, a reminder of the standings. There's Man United games here, so they've got to go away to Fenerbahce. They've got to play Fenerbahce at home, and away to Lazio, and home to Rangers. And Arsenal are bottom of the group. They've got to play away to Bayern, home to Bayern, away to Roma, and finally home to Olympiacos. That is not looking good for them, is it? Zoolander voice. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, guys. Right, I think that's it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it's very, very late. Thank you for staying on. I have to try and gear it towards you guys to try and be quick. At the same time, I want to cover lots of information. I love the game, got obviously a passion for it, and then I have to think about the guys who want to watch it afterwards and make sure they get all the information. So I still have to kind of cover it. So yeah, first one. Hopefully things will improve as we go forward. I'll get this resolution sorted. I'll get the speed and such sorted, and I think luckily for me the next time we have a game week is obviously going to be a week today, next Wednesday, so it will be me again, so I'll look forward to that, and I shall see you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and now I need to work out how to end my stream. Let me give it a go. See you guys.